What if the exact strategies you're using right now to achieve success, like the relentless hustle, the search for shortcuts, the constant optimization of your life, what if those are the very things guaranteeing you'll end up completely miserable?
I mean, it completely flips the script on how we are taught to operate. We're handed this cultural blueprint that says success is just a simple math equation.
Right.
You accumulate enough status, you outmaneuver the competition, and eventually, boom, you unlock happiness. But when you actually follow that blueprint to the letter,
Which so many people do.
exactly, and you usually just end up exhausted, exhausted, and honestly, pretty paranoid.
Yeah, paranoid is the right word. Well, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are just tearing apart that blueprint. For you listening, we're unpacking this profoundly dense, really fascinating set of notes we received, simply titled 17.docx.
It is such a dense read. Yeah.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
But if you are looking for a shortcut to some serious aha moments about human character, I mean, this document is an absolute goldmine. It completely dismantles our modern obsession with external achievements.
It really does.
And it argues that self-awareness and integrity, they aren't just polite moral suggestions. They are the literal ultimate keys to a peaceful mind.
Yeah, because the author is asking us to perform this radical shift in our attention
Hmm.
in a world that is basically engineered to keep our eyes glued to external metrics.
Like our bank accounts.
Bank accounts, follower counts, job titles, you name it. This text demands that we look inward instead. So our goal today is to synthesize these reflections and figure out the actual mechanics of why these internal traits matter so much for, just surviving the daily friction of our lives.
Right, the daily grind. So we are going to start right at the foundation of this text, which analyzes how we interact with the people around us. Specifically, the document zeroes in on the mechanics of trust and honesty.
Which is a heavy place to start.
It is, yeah. The author states that trust and freedom are among the greatest gifts we can ever experience. But the really fascinating part is how it addresses the breaking of that trust.
Right, the betrayal aspect.
Exactly. The text argues that when someone places their faith in us, betraying that trust is never, absolutely never a sign of intelligence or strength.
Mm.
Instead, it's a direct reflection of our own character flaws.
It's a failure of character, basically.
Yeah. True greatness is measured by honesty, integrity, and the ability to protect the confidence that others place in us. Valuing relationships over selfish gain is what actually earns lasting respect and peace of mind.
Okay, let's unpack this because I really have to push back here.
Oh, really? Push back how?
Well, I read that, and my immediate thought is, isn't this incredibly naive?
Naive in what sense, though?
In the sense of how the real world actually operates. I mean, we live in this highly competitive, hyper-optimized culture where ruthless self-interest is just routinely rewarded.
Well, yeah, sure, in a corporate sense. Right, and it's culturally framed as high intelligence. The person who finds the loophole, who outsmarts the system, who maybe, I don't know, throws a colleague under the bus to get the promotion.
Took at the corner office.
Exactly. They get the corner office. They get the IPO. We literally call them sharks and celebrate their hustle on magazine covers.
So when this document says betrayal is never a sign of intelligence, it feels like it's ignoring the reality that bad behavior frequently pays off.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, we really have to define what the text means by paying off. Because, you're talking about external material payoffs.
Right, the promotion, the money.
Exactly. But the document is talking about psychological and cognitive payoffs. Let's break down the actual mechanics of deception versus the mechanics of integrity.
Okay, lay it on me.
When you betray someone to get ahead, you are initiating this massive cognitive load on your own brain. Deception requires constant, lifelong psychological maintenance. You have to remember the lie, for one.
Oh, and who you told it to. Exactly. You have to manage the perceptions of everyone around you. You have to monitor your environment for threats because you know that if you cheated someone else can definitely cheat you.
Whoa, yeah.
The human nervous system is simply not built to sustain that level of hypervigilance without a serious consequence.
So it's like the physiological toll of being a shark. You're basically running this massive background program in your brain that's just eating up all your RAM.
That is a great way to put it. And that background program, it secretes cortisol, it disrupts your sleep, it creates this baseline of just ambient anxiety. So yeah, you might get the corner office, but you are sitting in it literally vibrating with stress.
Which sounds awful.
It is. The author equates protecting someone's confidence with true greatness because operating with integrity requires zero cognitive maintenance.
Because the truth just is.
Right. The truth just exists. It supports itself. You don't have to manage some complex web of narratives. The ultimate reward isn't that people, I don't know, throw you a parade for being honest.
Though a parade would be nice.
Sure, yeah. But the reward is internal. It is the literal peace of mind that comes from knowing your reality is stable.
I like to think of it like a foundational architectural beam in a house you're building. Betraying a friend or a colleague for a quick, selfish gain. It's like deciding to remove a load-bearing wall on the ground floor just so you can build a faster shortcut hallway to the kitchen.
Right, and in the moment, you look at your new hallway and you think you're an absolute genius.
Exactly. You're like, look at me. I outsmarted the building code. I got to the kitchen 10 seconds faster than everyone else.
But you have completely compromised the structural integrity of the entire house.
Yes. You might enjoy the shortcut for a week or a month or maybe even a year, but eventually the physics of the situation will catch up with you. The ceiling is going to cave in.
It has to.
Right. By valuing the shortcut over the structural integrity, you basically guarantee the collapse of your own peace of mind. You can never truly relax in that house again because you know exactly what you did to the foundation.
That's spot on. The author is essentially warning us that the modern definition of intelligence, the ability to extract maximum personal gain at the expense of others, it's actually a profound form of stupidity.
Because it destroys the one environment you can never escape, your own mind.
Exactly.
But, the problem with focusing solely on how we treat other people, though, is that you can be completely honest with your colleagues, you can never betray a friend, and you can still be living an absolute lie in your own head.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is where the text makes this brutal pivot. It moves from how we relate to others to how we relate to ourselves, offering this radical redefinition of what freedom actually means.
Yeah, this section of the document really challenges the core dogma of modern consumer culture because that dogma says that freedom is simply the ability to fulfill every desire you have.
The more choices, the freer you are.
Right. Freedom is having endless choices, endless money to buy those choices, and the power to get whatever you want, basically whenever you want it.
But the text explicitly rejects that. It states that real freedom does not come from always getting what we want. True freedom begins with self-awareness.
Which sounds so simple, but it's incredibly hard.
It really is. It's the process of becoming aware of our own thoughts, our desires, our fears, and our reactions, instead of being blindly controlled by them. And the author uses this phrase that gave me absolute chills.
The invisible prison.
Yes. They describe the constant urge to compare, judge, choose, or seek approval as an invisible prison.
And that term, invisible prison, it's clinically precise when you look at the evolutionary biology of the human brain. We really have to ask why our brains are so obsessed with comparing ourselves to others and seeking their approval in the first place.
Because it definitely feels hardwired.
It is hardwired. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, if you were in a hunter-gatherer tribe, your survival depended entirely on the approval of the group. If the tribe judged you poorly, you were exiled. And, exile meant death by starvation or predators.
You just didn't survive alone.
Exactly. So our brains evolved this hypersensitive threat detection system that is entirely built around social status.
So we're essentially walking around the 21st century with hardware designed to panic if we aren't constantly validated by the tribe.
Yeah, and that hardware creates the prison. The urge to judge your neighbor's car, the desperate need to check how many likes a photo got, the anxiety of choosing the right career path so your parents approve, these are involuntary biological reflexes.
They aren't real choices.
No, they aren't. The text argues that if you spend your life blindly obeying these reflexes, you are not free. Even if you get everything you want, best car, the most likes, the highest status, you are simply a highly successful inmate in an invisible prison.
Wow.
You're a puppet who thinks they are free simply because they get to choose which string the puppeteer pulls next.
That is heavy. For you listening, imagine you are trapped as a passenger in a rogue, self-driving car. The GPS hasn't been programmed by you. It has been programmed by your deepest evolutionary fears, your desperate need for external approval, and your urge to constantly compare yourself to everyone you see on the internet.
And that car is moving fast.
Oh, it is violently swerving from one lane to another. It accelerates toward a dopamine hit over here, slams on the brakes to avoid a perceived judgment over there, and you are just sitting in the passenger seat, gripping the door handle, just being thrown around. How do we actually grab the steering wheel?
Well, the steering wheel is awareness itself. The text says that by simply observing these tendencies with awareness, we gain the power to respond wisely, rather than just reacting emotionally.
But how does that work in practice?
The mechanics of this rely on creating a tiny, tiny gap in your cognitive processing. When the urge hits, say, the urge to buy something you absolutely do not need just to impress someone you don't even really like.
We've all been there.
Oh, for sure. In that moment, the car is accelerating. The primitive part of your brain, the amygdala, is just screaming at you to act on the urge to secure your status.
Right, and if you aren't self-aware, you just buy the thing. You merge right into the lane of financial debt without even checking your blind spots.
Exactly. But if you apply the text method, you just observe the urge. You say to yourself in real time, I am feeling a massive spike in anxiety right now, and my brain is telling me that buying this expensive watch will fix it.
So you're calling it out.
Yes, by labeling the emotion and observing it as a physiological event rather than this undeniable command from the universe, you literally shift the brain's activity. You move it away from the primitive amygdala and up into the prefrontal cortex.
Which is the logical part.
Right, the part that handles logic and executive control.
So you are uncoupling the urge from the action. You feel the acceleration, but you realize your foot doesn't actually have to press the pedal.
Yeah, in that microsecond of observation, you move from the passenger seat to the driver's seat. You don't suppress the urge. I mean, the urge is definitely still there, but you choose not to be controlled by it.
That's a huge distinction.
It is the profound contrast the author is highlighting. Getting what you want is a false freedom, because your wants are often programmed by fears and insecurities anyway. True freedom is the self-mastery of not being controlled by those desires.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because, having this internal realization of freedom while you're sitting quietly in a room, meditating or whatever, is one thing. But the real world is loud, messy, and deeply annoying.
It certainly is.
And the text transitions from this internal theory to the gritty, practical application of facing daily friction. It states that every challenge, insult, temptation, or disappointment is actually an opportunity.
Which is a tough pill to swallow, honestly. Reframing daily friction as an opportunity rather than, a victimization is a massive psychological leap.
Massive. The document argues that these moments of friction allow us to actively choose integrity over deception, patience over anger, and wisdom over impulse. And it states that developing inner peace and emotional strength comes entirely from mastering ourselves rather than trying to control others.
Yes.
I really want to zero in on the word insult here, because it is incredibly easy to be philosophical when things are going your way. It is brutally difficult to be insulted, like to have someone disrespect you right to your face and actually choose wisdom over impulse.
Oh, of course, because an insult triggers that exact same tribal survival mechanism we just discussed. Your brain interprets the disrespect as a drop in social status.
Which feels like a threat.
It registers as a literal, life-threatening emergency to your body. Your heart rate spikes, your face flushes, your adrenaline dumps. Your immediate biological impulse is to strike back, to defend the ego, to destroy the threat.
But what if we view that physical rush, that insult, not as a personal attack that damages us, but as resistance training for our character?
I like where you're going with it.
Think about it. When you go to the gym and pick up a 50-pound dumbbell, you don't get angry at the iron for being heavy. You don't take it personally. You recognize that the heavy resistance is the exact biological trigger required to tear your muscle fibers so they can grow back stronger.
Right, and the heavier the weight, the greater the potential for growth.
Exactly. So when someone hurls an insult at you, they're essentially walking up and handing you a 50-pound dumbbell for your mind.
That's a brilliant way to frame it.
Your ego's impulse is to drop it on their foot and insult them back. But your awareness, that prefrontal cortex steering wheel we talked about, allows you to take that heavy, deeply uncomfortable weight and use it to build your emotional stamina. You practice patience over anger. You are literally using their negative energy to perform a rep of character development.
And the text makes a crucial distinction here between the total futility of trying to control others and the absolute power of mastering ourselves.
Because you can't control them anyway.
Right. If you view the insult as a personal attack that must be stopped, your immediate goal becomes controlling the other person. You want to force them to respect you. You want to force them to apologize and admit they are wrong.
Which never works.
Never. Going back to your gym analogy, trying to control the person who insulted you is the equivalent of standing in front of the 50-pound dumbbell and screaming at it, demanding that it become lighter.
Just yelling at the iron.
Yes, demanding that it apologize for being so heavy. It is a complete delusion. You cannot control the weight of the iron, and you cannot control the actions, opinions, or rudeness of other human beings. Outsourcing your peace of mind to the behavior of strangers is a guaranteed one-way ticket to endless frustration.
You will spend your entire life exhausted, just, you know, yelling at weights.
Basically, yeah. Self-mastery is ignoring the arrogance of the iron and focusing entirely on your own form as you lift it. You choose your response to the insult. The text promises that genuine happiness is generated entirely internally through this process.
Not from outside.
Exactly. Happiness is not some resource you extract from a perfectly compliant, polite world. It is a state of being you forge within yourself by consistently choosing wisdom over impulse, especially when the world is chaotic and hostile.
It is an inside job from start to finish. And I think this brings all these threads together perfectly into the author's concluding thesis. The text leaves us with a summary that totally upends the standard cultural rulebook for life.
It really throws the rulebook out the window.
It declares that true success is not found in deceiving others, accumulating wealth through betrayal, or always getting your way. True success is found in living with honesty, maintaining self-awareness, and cultivating inner freedom. A peaceful mind and a noble character are identified not as secondary traits, nice to haves,
Right.
but as the absolute greatest victories a human being can achieve. For you listening, this deep dive was about extracting these tools from the realm of high philosophy and putting them right into your daily toolkit.
Taking it from theory to practice.
Exactly. The next time you face a choice between a deceptive shortcut and protecting someone's trust, you know exactly which option builds a foundation that actually lets you sleep at night. The next time you feel that frantic, agonizing urge to compare your behind-the-scenes reality to someone else's perfectly curated highlight reel.
Which happens to all of us.
Every day. You know how to observe the urge and grab the steering wheel? And the next time you face a bitter insult, you know you aren't a victim. You are just being handed a heavy weight for some serious resistance training.
Yeah, we have spent this time dissecting the assertion that the constant urge to compare, judge, choose, or seek approval can become an invisible prison. But as we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final question to really examine in your own life.
Lay it on us.
Consider the immediate environment you are sitting in right now. We live in a modern technological ecosystem that is actively, literally, algorithmically designed by thousands of engineers to constantly trigger those exact evolutionary
The
urges.
scrolling, the notifications.
Yes. Social media platforms are trillion-dollar engines built for the sole purpose of triggering your urge to compare and seek approval. Modern consumerism is this inescapable architecture designed to exploit your urge to constantly choose and acquire.
It's everywhere.
It is. So, if our environment is deliberately weaponizing our biology against us to keep us clicking and buying, are we collectively building a societal invisible prison? And if that is the case, consider how radical the philosophy in 17:8 Docs really is.
It becomes an act of rebellion.
Exactly. Practicing just one single moment of the self-awareness we detailed today, just observing the urge without clicking the ad, without buying the product, without reacting to the outrage bait, that might be the most rebellious, liberating act you can possibly take in the modern world.
If the entire global economy is trying to herd you into an invisible prison, a peaceful, self-aware mind really is the ultimate act of defiance. We all start out wanting the turn-by-turn GPS for success, hoping someone will just tell us how to win the game. But maybe true success is realizing the game itself is rigged. Maybe true success is finally learning how to navigate by your own internal compass, trusting that as long as it points toward honesty and self-awareness, you will always end up exactly where you need to be.